Hello, welcome to episode 14. God, they rattle along now, don't they, of the Isuzu Ute A-League download. Look at these Galacticos sitting on the other sofa. Archie, Thompson and Thomas Sørensen.
Maxi.
We have merch available at your nearest Isuzu Ute dealer for just $99.99. Which do you think would sell the best out of the mugs? The Sørensen, the Thompson or the Rushden?
Well, I think we should just sell
If
them as a
anyone
set.
sells
Sell
them.
them as a set so no one
As a
feels-
set?
Yeah.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah,
That's good.
Because then, you know.
I think you're closest to National Treasure, Archie. You know, we're immigrants. You know, we're hated, aren't we?
Oh, we've adopted you
Yeah,
guys.
oh, that's
You're
very kind of you. Let's have a look at the results from. There were lots of. It was another one of those weeks. Can you just put the games at the weekend? Much easier to follow. Right, so it began with Perth Glory losing to Western Sydney Wanderers with an amazing own goal that I cannot wait to talk about. Wellington Phoenix and Sydney FC drew 0-0. In arguably the least interesting football match in generations. Another good win for West United against Newcastle Jets. They are going well, aren't they? Central Coast with a really big win against Western Sydney Wanderers. Great victory for Auckland over Melbourne City. A statement win, it says here. Then Brisbane won a football match.
Yay!
I was so delighted. They won 4-3, almost threw it away at Sydney. And then a big win for Adelaide against Melbourne Victory, which is where we'll begin with the Adelaide-Melbourne Victory game. What did you make of that one, Thomas?
I think, Victory again. I think they started well, obviously got the goal. That Asani chance.
So big in this game.
It's massive. And again, Ethan Cox, second game, important save. And I think that keeps them in it. And then, we're going to see the sprinklers go on in the Perth game. But I actually thought in this game, the water breaks changed the game. That was the momentum. It was a bit like the tennis match where they take a medical timeout, try to change.
I need a wee.
Yeah,
they'd gone for 2.5
trying to
hours.
change the momentum. Obviously, here it was the referee, and it was all decided beforehand. But it definitely changed the dynamics in the game. And after that, Adelaide came into it and scored some great goals and talk about the atmosphere there. Fantastic. And to see all the Victory fans travel to Adelaide as well, when they scored, again, this is what the A-League is all about. I think that game, the rivalry, you've played it in Archie, it's a bit foreign for me, but again, the history, you can sense it. And it was, just a great display of the A-League.
Yeah, tell me about this rivalry, right? Because as far as I can tell, they seem to make every game some kind of derby, even though they're just they're like that miles away. They're like, we can make this one. This is the bean sprout derby, and this is the chicken run derby, and this is they're both near a beach derby. But is this a real what's this rivalry like?
Well, I will say for Melbourne Victory, I feel there are three really important games and big games. Yeah. There's the one against Sydney, the Big Blue, and then you've got the one against Melbourne City, the local derby. And then I feel the biggest one is yes, because there's just so much history with the first two grand finals that we played against Adelaide, and we won those. So and then we've always had a really good record against them, and there might be two that sort of Victoria South Australia kind of hate as well, but I just think it stemmed from early days. They were always just fiery contests, and what I love about I guess the games now is that maybe it wasn't as potent as what it was back in the day when we first started this rivalry, but some of the younger kids that are coming through have experiences as fans. So now they get to actually play in it. Like you hear someone, I think it was Kikianis who said that that was his first experience of the original derby, and he just loved it because he grew up watching it. And so that is why it's every time that you always look forward to that match. And I feel like for the Victory fans, that's why they go in numbers, and it's always amazing. But yeah, great atmosphere and the conditions too, stifling, but the football and the energy was pretty much the whole 90 minutes. It was great.
I know Adelaide are top of the table. It feels to me Victory is the bigger story here. The fact that, Kisnorbo goes, Thielix comes in, and they haven't been bad, but they just cannot get a break.
No, we've talked about this for weeks. I think that they produced plenty of chances, but just conceding goals. That own goal, it comes at a crucial time, and just bad defending. It's sort of again back to my pet peeve, the positioning of defenders. Even for I think it was the cut back, at the end of the game. You got 7 defenders.
Yeah.
Bloody cover the space. Like
You can
run towards
say
goal.
it out loud. Let it go. Don't keep it in. Swear if you want to.
It was one of the things I had every time I played. I hated, you need maybe defender at the back stick and a defender near the front post. But, pick up the people, the men. They charge towards the goal line. Everyone wants to be on the goal line. And there was about 5 Adelaide players, just lining up to take the shot. And then obviously it takes the deflection, goes in. And
This sounds actually like a goalkeeper blaming defenders. I don't know about you.
now, sometimes they need a bit of blame because I was getting plenty. So you know what, it just sums it up a little bit for them, like conceding some goals. And obviously now, I thought Duncan has done well, but you've got Langerak now sitting on the bench, and it'll be interesting to see what happens there. We've seen plenty of goalkeeping changes around the league.
We have actually.
So sometimes managers would be looking for a momentum, and it'd be interesting to see what happens there going forward.
I did love that Santos header. I don't know, the fact it's on the bounce.
Man, that
he's flying.
Great cross from Masani.
Amazing cross, but I loved that.
Yeah, and that happened at a time where I was actually thinking something needs to happen, or there needs to be a substitution, because I just felt that really for Victory nothing was going forward. They weren't really creating, and I actually thought that maybe they were going to pull Azani because he wasn't really contributing. And then he whips in a ball. Virgos, I think he's probably intending to go for Virgos. Virgos drags the defender, but the ball, that's so hard to execute as a striker when the ball comes in at that speed, bounces off the ground when you don't know where it's going to go, and then kind of anticipating it, but also to get the direction on the header was just amazing. And but for Victory, I just think since Kisnorbo has left, they haven't been able to put a whole 90 minutes. It's just sporadic, and then they just seem to just lose themselves. Second half of games, I mean, they're terrible. They haven't been able to see out a game or even a half time. They seem to be great for 45 minutes and then slip up.
As soon as Arthur Dillers gets a chance to talk to him, it's a disaster. I'm sorry, Arthur, I didn't mean that. Are Adelaide, they're top of the league, are they the best team in this league, do you think?
You know what? It's so hard to judge. We've seen teams that we like Sydney. Don't lose go 6 unbeaten, and then they lose to a team that hasn't won. So, again, it's so even, and that's why we love this league. Are they the best? I think they're definitely efficient. I think they take their chances. Stefan Mork has been great. Aleague, I think that was his second goal now. Again, at home, what for a young player with a history and his dad and everything to get a winner in that derby. So they're just doing well. Are they the best team? I would question it, but they're top of the table, so you can't argue with it.
Yeah, I have to say they are.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to say they are.
Say it.
When you look at they're just solid all over the park. They're pressed. They're great with the ball. Yeah. Even when they're not playing bad, they still find a way to win. When they're playing great, they win. I think at this point, for me, they're the best team.
Let's go to the game.
And that felt bad saying because
I know.
Thomas bought coffee for us.
He did,
this morning.
He did. I
But
complained
apparently
about it.
they were large coffees, and they didn't. That wasn't good enough. It should have been just.
Let's be real about this. You asked for a 3/4 flat white. You don't want a large one because that's not 3/4 anymore. You want. It's the amount of milk that's the issue. But don't get me started on the baristas of Melbourne. It's a tough job, honestly. I don't want a magic. Stop asking me if I want a magic. If I'd wanted one, you don't have to drink it. Sydney 3, Brisbane 4. Brisbane's first win in the A-League since the 5th of April last year, 288 days. They almost chucked it away. But do you know the thing I thought? Who scored the second? Henry Hall scored the second.
Henry Hall.
Do you know what I thought? I thought they don't look surprised enough to be 2-0 up in a game. They're a bit like, this happens every week.
I think they were stunned. Stunned into silence. But again, I think we've talked enough about the Brisbane have played well. They're just not taking their chance. And now obviously Thomas Waddingham is gone. So you sort of question, but that first ball over the top, Halloran.
Yeah. What do you think about the keeper? Kind of was he?
It's a tough one because you sort of you get caught in two minds. You feel like you have to do something, but you got to give credit.
It's a
to the
lovely finish, isn't
It's
it?
a great finish. Just composed, and sometimes a striker can get startled and they panic, but he didn't. So they took their goals well. It was just at the end when he was sort of, oh no, they're gonna give it. And Sydney, I don't know if it's travel. We saw several teams that travelled didn't perform well. And Sydney just felt lethargic, weren't at themselves. Like Lolly was, again, good, a couple of assists, but it was too late.
Yeah.
And fair play to Brisbane. Great to see them.
I always think it's strange, like elite level, that a team can be complacent, right? Like, this is your job. It's not like you turn up, but you can't help
human nature.
Can't help feeling it.
Yeah.
You just think, we're on a roll. They've been playing so well. Brisbane are garbage. This will be easy, and it just didn't turn out that way.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you remember me saying last week.
Oh, I remember every word.
Do you remember me saying about Sydney? I don't know just yet. But that particular game, it was difficult. It was obvious that they were tired, and you could just see with the way that Brisbane had a week off. They pressed Sydney straight from the go. Normally, they probably wouldn't do that against a Sydney team that's probably had a good rest and recovered, because then they'll just get played through. But you could see straight away that Ruben's gone, let's get at this team because they're going to be tired. And it was. They played balls in behind. Poor Joel King had a bit of a nightmare. Understandable, really tired in those back positions. But they were clinical. They were really, really clinical. And like you said about Henry Hall, I mean, it was funny because he hasn't played much football, and then he's rushed straight into the starting 11. I just wonder if Ruben thought, okay, if it was maybe a rested Sydney team, then he'll come off the bench. But might as well just throw him at it when Sydney's probably not at their 100%. And I was so happy last week when Perth won. I was so happy this week when Brisbane won. So it was a really good win from them.
And a word on Lucas Harrington, 17, scores his first A-League goal. He looked so delighted. And I think we can occasionally forget that, these are humans, and you might be 17 and that's young, but your sort of whole career, this journey, and so many people who've helped you along the way to that moment, and he was just over the moon.
Again, we can all remember barely remember when we were 17 and we got our debut, and those first small steps that you work so hard for. And then, sometimes we can sit there and say, I just want people to show more emotion. But that was perfect. And again, it came at a perfect time as well. So good on him. And again, so many young players, just poking their nose out, which is fantastic.
And that final whistle, you can just see it from everyone all over the pitch.
I think it's Satkovic probably, he's been coming on, I'm not under pressure, but I'm sure inside, thank God for that.
It almost looked like his soul came back into his body.
Yeah, we were talking about it was sort of hovering.
Yeah, it was hovering. It's been always hovering over him, but then bang, that's got to come in. And you could see immediately when he was getting interviewed, colour was starting to come back into his face. It's awesome.
God, he could give some of that colour to Ange, couldn't he? But we might get to that. Sydney's other game was a goalless draw in Wellington. We've been allotted 3 minutes to talk about this. That's not fair on anyone. How the hell are we meant to get 3 minutes out of this game? I mean, this was a tough watch, Thomas.
Yeah.
But I think the good story is Albie Kelly-Heald, coming in and just hearing the story behind the decision. You can say Oliver Yemi. I think he's had some great games, but he's also cost a couple of goals and then to hear Chiefy's reasoning with playing out from the back, and he felt that Olivier had been struggling a bit and not really living up to the standard that he wanted, for the tactical things, and then giving him a bit of a time on the bench, and to be fair, he kept a clean sheet, so it was a justified decision. So only 19. I think it's I fell for that. When I got dropped, and that was because of obviously not playing to the standard of the modern game, and again sometimes you got.
You okay about it now?
I'm barely coming to terms with it. But again, that's the modern game, and fair play to the young lad. He did well.
Yeah.
that was probably the best story of the game.
Yes.
It was, as you
yeah,
said.
definitely.
Yeah. Hayden Matthews reported to be going to Portsmouth. What is it about Portsmouth? Do you think it's because it's on the coast and it's just like an A-League boat? They've
got a few palm trees there. Maybe they feel at home. I don't know.
I don't know.
Portsmouth, they're struggling, but I think they won at the weekend, which was good. But they're struggling in the championship, and but there's a few Aussies there, and sometimes you're looking for a bit of familiarity, an environment that people can sort of get into and feel comfortable with. And you see that at certain clubs, they gather a few Spanish players and they try to develop some sort of chemistry and culture. But
I think Fozzie was there and he was just like the zenith of man. They were like, who is this dish, right? Even then, now he's a silver fox, then he was just a fox, and he was playing at the weekend for Portsmouth and then saving the world in the week. The guy can do no wrong. And they went, look, if that's what Australians are like, let's fill Portsmouth with Aussies. Auckland's 3, Melbourne City 0.
Yes.
And they'd had a bit of a stutter recently, Auckland. An amazing start, then sort of came down to reality. And this was, I thought it was a brilliant performance.
Yeah, even the goals. The goals are really great. I actually probably want to get your thoughts on Patrick Beach because that's a couple of times where he's conceded a goal from a corner. I don't know if it's because of his physicality in there, where he's not been able to really get rid of a punch, and then I think they'll punch a ball away, and then they end up being 3-0 down. I thought the game was pretty much done at half time, but in saying that, the goals were really amazing. Guillermo?
Hey, his good friends call him Guillermo.
Just say May.
Yeah. Guillermo May.
That's a great hit, that.
Wow, unbelievable. Yeah. I actually think the way that when he hit it, because the wind was actually going from right to left, so it was against the wind, but it didn't look like that at all. He hit that unbelievable. Even the finish from Pinecker off the...
his first touch, I thought, to get it out of his feet.
Unbelievable. And he hit really, with some venom. And so a great response from travelling from Perth, only 3 or 4 days beforehand, doing it without Sakai, who's a key player for them. For Elliot in his position was great, but good response at home because they haven't had a win there in 3. So sometimes when fans can get a little bit funny when they're riding this amazing wave, and all of a sudden they start to lose, and then maybe they lose interest.
All the Auckland fans are going, I remember the good old days when this all began 2 months ago. Now look at this garbage.
Yeah. Well, they can be.
Yeah, of course.
Fans can be very, but they a really, really good performance, and it sets it up beautifully for this Wednesday when they go to Adelaide. I think it's going to be a cracking game.
Yeah, and again, going back to what you said, I think it caught up with, we were lauding the Academy FC and the young players of Melbourne City, and I think it probably caught up with them a little bit. Maybe the first time a lot of them played in front of the big crowd and in a hostile environment to some extent. The travel, I don't know, but they just felt a bit off. And Patrick Beach, I think he had a good game. He made some good saves, but I think you can see that he's a young keeper. He got outsmarted a bit. You can't get pinned, by the striker.
But what do you do? It's hard, isn't it? Because because there's so much. You see this in every league now. That the attacking team, they can pull and push defenders all over the place, because the worst case is they give away a free kick. It's basically a goal kick, type free kick. But if you're the keeper, if he just lamps someone, or if he pushes them over, he could give away a penalty. So it's a tricky, using your strength in a kind of subtle way.
It is, and you have to use certain tactics and strategy. I think for me, it took me some time to find out what worked best for me. I used to have a defender there, and we had an agreement that let him sort of try to be physical with me, but then at the last time when the referee is looking elsewhere, you just take him out. So you actually just...
Who was your favourite defender to do this? Robert Huth. Just in the last minute.
He was too good at that. But you don't need a big player, but you need a smart player and somebody who understands the job. And then at the last second before the kick, you would just take him a yard, just push him a yard, and that gave me that space and that freedom to get around him. Yeah. But because... it's and for some players it works better in other ways. Patrick Beach, you could just see that he was, he just got boxed in and got held up and couldn't get to the ball, and you can't allow yourself that.
Let's go to Western United 3, Newcastle 1. Let's talk about that Noah Botic. I mean, Guillermo, my stroke was great, but this strike from Botic is something else.
He's been amazing. He scored the week before against Melbourne Victory. He's on a great little run, and he's finally, I guess, reaching the expectations of what we kind of thought that he was able to reach, and it's only just starting. I mean, last year injuries probably hampered him. He was scoring, then all of a sudden he wasn't, and then I think confidence was low. He said this year he's had a great preseason, and to be able to work off an experienced player like Ibusuki, I think has really helped his game, because you could see that maybe a lot of responsibility was on Botic last season, and when you've got someone like Ibusuki that can shoulder some of that responsibility, you can learn off and bounce things off, and also too his all-round game's been great. I mean, he's scoring goals, but the work that he does off the ball is amazing. But that hit that you say, I've been waiting for someone to hit that ball, because I don't know what it is out in Tarnee, but it just seems on that it must blow. I don't know. It just blows from left to right.
Yeah, it seems to be that direction.
It doesn't go any other way. It just goes that way. And no one has hit. I don't think anyone's hit the ball.
They had a couple of strikes from distance.
Yeah,
so, but
maybe not as good as that one.
So you're saying playing with the wind?
Yes.
So he's taking a bit of grass, he's thrown it in the air, he's taken out a 5-iron. He's gone, I'm just gonna fade or draw. I always get muddled up.
With that win, you only need a pitcher. You don't even need to pull out a 5-iron. It's that strong, and it's always that strong. So, but great hit. West United dominated this game. Like they were just unbelievable at the moment.
Angus Thurgate, we talked about him plenty of times.
It's just in my mind every day.
Yeah. He's always there. He's involved. He got a little bit of luck with the deflection for the cross, but I just think overall, I never saw this coming. And John Aloisi, he's just revitalised. The young players are playing with confidence. They could have been top of the table. They were top of the table.
Yes.
So 24 hours.
Yeah, briefly, and fantastic run, and they're a team to be reckoned with. And especially, I think it's hopefully they'll play all their home games. Don't forget about Amy Park and whatever. Like, get out there, get the crowds there, and take that advantage, because you learn how to play there, as you said. You learn how the wind and how the pitch reacts, and that's a massive advantage.
I'm not going to mention Stoke, but that's a big advantage. That wind. There was a weird wind in there, wasn't it?
There was always we had this,
because it was an open bit.
There was a corner.
Yeah.
And it always blew across there, and you definitely you learn how to. You learn how to use it to your advantage, and why not? Why not? Now they've moved out there. Go for it.
Well, that's like Wellington's stadium. That's you don't know where it's going. I think even for the Wellington players, it doesn't matter. Yeah, there's one corner where the ball, if it gets played, it just sort of swirls. Yeah. It doesn't. It's like,
no.
You're kind of
like a twister.
No. It's like, where's the ball? It reminds me
when I played at Sunderland, it was exactly the same. People were like, oh. I said, there was always this swirly wind, and it's as a goalkeeper, it's horrible because you expect to come for crosses, but 1 minute it's stopping in the wind, next minute it gets blown out.
But that's it. If you want to waste time,
and
you can get it
ridiculous.
Right into the eye of the twister. It will just swirl around there for half an hour. All the players underneath just waiting, just going, come on, it's going to come in a minute.
You're exactly right. Wellington is the same. But the more you play in it, the more you sort of start to gauge what it does. Most of the time. It's not all the time.
Let's go to the game on Tuesday between Perth Glory and Western Sydney Wanderers, which began with Western Sydney Wanderers taking the lead in the 4th minute with one of the all-time great own goals. Keeper makes a save, comes back to him.
It was a bit of a weird save as well. He was sort of jumping forward and scooped it out. But, he saved it.
He slips over. It's just so slapstick. He slips over. He kicks it into Andriano Labib's backside, basically. It's not his side, I guess. But the fact that everyone watching it, the first time you see it, you're like, that can't have gone in. When you're watching it going, I don't know what's happened there.
It must have been a free kick as well. Who pulled it?
How has the ball gone into there? There's no real reason why that should go into there. And I think Robbie Thompson on comms was saying, they've watered the pitch, which I thought was very generous.
That's
Absolute elite moment. I loved it so much. Archie.
Yeah. They just, I mean, it got a. I don't even know how to explain that. I mean, we saw a little bit, I guess, Adelaide versus Victory where that got the own goal, but kicked it, and then somehow hits his knee and bang, bullet to the corner. But I don't know.
You should be able to walk off and just go, this is the kind of season we're having.
Yeah, well.
What's the point? 4 minutes in, you can see the other players going, for excuse my language, but that's what everyone was thinking.
I was a bit worried, actually, the way that Perth started this game. I thought, oh no, they've gone back. They had all this excitement about that first win, and then they were just immediately nervous about this game. But that first 20 minutes, they were just all over the shop. And but they seemed to regain a bit of composure. They got back into their rhythm. I'm really liking that Pearman. Is it Pearman, the young boy?
Yeah.
I think he's really come on. I think it was his third start. I mean, since he scored that goal, assist, he's just growing in confidence. And I love that he's when he sees an opportunity to pull the trigger, he's got a great shot on him. He takes that opportunity. But I think he's incredible. Tags again, gets on the score sheet. I love seeing that. But
yeah, good finish as well. Yeah, good finish.
Yeah, but then another silly mistake, I think, from the goalkeeper. Yeah,
you can't. It's your bread and butter.
Yeah.
Like, the goal kicks. It's something you practice it. Like you've done it a million times, and he shanks it straight. Is it Sapsford?
Yeah,
Zach Sapsford.
Yeah, and then he obviously gets played in and scores. It's his fourth goal of the season. I think he
looks great. I thought that touch to take it round the keeper was great.
He's been composed. He scored some good goals this season. Another good young player. Showing his
and he's without the mask too. He doesn't have the mask on anymore. Do you see where he's wearing that mask?
Like Bane.
Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah.
Does he talk like Bane?
No.
He doesn't. I just think that would be quite, on a pitch, that would be annoying, wouldn't it? Nothing silly, first five! Don't let it bounce! What are you talking about? They don't want it!
No, come on.
No?
Yeah, it'd be entertaining to watch.
I just find it, I'd be a bit annoyed. Like, come on, mate, just not now. Leave it, Bane.
Yeah, but it was a really good finish, and it was a good result for Western Sydney.
Yeah, but it'd be interesting now with Kalucha obviously going the other way. So he wasn't involved in this game, and he's going to Western Sydney, and now Lucky Wales is coming.
And signing a few, Japanese, Patrick Woods.
So they've lost obviously a few players, and the visa spots didn't turn out well. But now they've got two Japanese players.
Yeah.
We've seen success. Wellington, Sakai. So they come with an attitude, and I think they come with they tend to be professionals, and they work hard, and I think that's what Perth needs. A bit of experience as well. They're in their 30s, so it could be a great thing. And Lucky Wales, he's a hard worker. We know what he's about. He's been around the league for a long time.
Just the window, because in some leagues, the January windows, it's quite hard to change a squad in that time. And the players that are around, if I think about the EPL, for example, you don't necessarily see that much churn. Is it different in the A-League? Can you change your season massively with what you managed to do in January?
For sure. January, but definitely there's a massive churn in general because of short-term contracts, and that's where hopefully we're slowly moving away from that, where actually with the young players, you can sign them up for 2 or 3 years. We've seen that, which is great. But I think with the league being so even, a few things can definitely change it to your advantage. And Perth, if they get it right, for sure. We're not talking about winning the championship, but I'm talking about, they can get in a respectable position and get some wins and start to at least make their home form, get the fans something to be excited about.
Western Sydney Wanderers 1, Central Coast Mariners 3. I thought this game actually could have gone either way. It felt like a game of moments, and actually the last 5 minutes of this game was just absolutely brilliant. Wasn't it?
Incredible,
so good.
Well, again, probably Western Sydney looked just a little bit lethargic. I think that travel to Perth really knocked them about, and they've had a lot of games to contend with, like most, but. I think for Central Coast, they really needed to win, and you could see with Mark Jackson after the game how happy he was to get that result. But I thought that Central Coast definitely played a lot better than what I've seen. Aloague, great finish. He definitely needs to build from this because, I mean, that's 3 goals and that's probably not enough for your striker that starts. Edmondson, good to see him back. He gets on the score sheet and a time that they needed it. But I think we have to say the 2 big points or pivotal points in this game were the 2 clearances off the line. I mean, they were phenomenal. I think it was...
How is the game so stretched? What I don't understand is you're 2-1 up. How is it that suddenly, you've got 2, nobody at the back?
Yeah,
I'm like, what's going on?
I think it might have come from a corner, but I think, but the way that Harrison Steele, I think he was the one that made that run just... beelined it to the goal
Remember,
line.
Thomas doesn't like defenders going on the goal line.
But he's not a defender; he's a midfielder.
Okay,
You know what? So and he's actually been great this season. It's summed this season up. You know, again, he scored a couple of goals. We saw he had a header. Was it a week or 2 ago? Fantastic. You know, I think he's been one of the bright spots. And then and it's a tough because. You're sliding, they might have watered the pitch.
Too,
And sometimes it's too easy to just get a shit duster and then you slide over the line and the ball, you don't get enough momentum on it. But, he did well and it showed the fight and the spirit.
Yeah.
And then Mikael Docker to run the length of the pitch was also quite composed.
Yeah.
And then finally sealing it.
Yeah. It took it really well, actually. Yeah. And actually that win is, what you want is, as many teams as possible still in the hunt for that top 6, right? And this felt like a key win to keep them. They're just in touching distance, aren't they?
Yeah, and it's just about now for them to have go on a little bit of a run, be a bit more consistent. I don't know McCalmont, what the injury is there. It looked like that might be a knee. Hopefully it's nothing too serious, but because he's really key in that middle of the puck. But Ames, I thought the young boy that came on, 16. He really was really, really good. I like the way that he's such a, for his age, I saw one thing that I thought, wow, sometimes when you're a young kid, you come in and you pass the ball, you just pass it to the player, you just see. I watched him a couple of times. He actually passed it to a position where the player would not, so the other defender wouldn't... if you know what I'm trying to say.
I don't, but I know what you mean.
So,
he's anticipating. He's playing it ahead of the player.
So, you could see that maybe that defender is going to get in the line of that path and that might make it difficult to the player he's passing. So, he passes it into a position where he can run onto, where he's thinking about where his passes need to go. And at a 16-year-old to be able to kind of go, okay, well, he's coming, I can play it there, I'll play it there.
Unfortunately, it took him less time to think about playing the pass than you articulated how to play the pass. Otherwise, he'd still be here trying to play the pass.
Which is good because it would have got snapped. But look, I think for his age, he's showing a lot of intelligence and that's really good. But for Central Coast, they really need to go on a run.
Yeah, and also you feel that if they can get that forward play,
cut that.
Definitely don't.
Mate, cut that out.
But Edmondson scoring his first goal since the grand final, but you sense with the Sainsbury and Caltech partnership at the back, and Perret Collin, I think is can grow with those two, even though he's still young, and so you if they can then build on the forward playing and start to get goals. Aleague, you talked about, they haven't gotten the output.
Yeah.
Up until this point, then I start to give them a chance.
Yes.
Because they're sort of in that could go either way. But again, they need a run, as you say.
And there is a good group of clubs there that can
sort of MacArthur down to Central Coast in that kind of, and obviously they're only MacArthur and Sydney are only 3 points behind Western United. But if you look at that, you just see that little patch of and that's what you want, I guess, is 5 or 6 teams going for those bottom 2 places, and then you never know, right? Because I guess any kind of playoffs, if you're the team with momentum going into it, if you have 3 or 4 wins that gets you into 6th. You might not be as good as the team that finished first, but momentum is so big.
It's huge, and there's some big games too this week when you look at the context of the league. You got Adelaide versus Auckland, top of the table. Then you've got the Big Blue on the Friday, which is such a big game because it keeps Victory could jump into the 6 and push Sydney out.
God, they need to win.
And they need to win.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that'd be like the perfect way to kickstart something. Beating Sydney and jumping into the 6, I would think would give them a bit of momentum, hopefully.
But is it just me that, like, I think for the first time in quite a few years, we sit there every week and like, there's 2 or 3 great games or big games or important games where I thought, we were sort of like maybe scratching and searching in previous years.
Yeah.
I think this year, as you said, there's like 8, 9 teams.
Yeah.
And it's constantly like the momentum can go either way, and it's fantastic.
And it's entertaining.
Yeah,
like how many goals were scored over this round? Like, just amazing. Like,
I think it's mainly because the coverage has improved.
Yeah.
So dramatic. I don't know what it is. Just
I
the
think
feeling.
because we build it up for the viewers at home to be watching, and maybe the guys are watching.
Well, we know Joe Lolly is. MacArthur Wellington tonight. How do you see it, please, Thomas?
Wellington needs something. Again, they've had a decent start, and now it's sort of just nothing has happened. Again, they got at least a clean sheet and a point. MacArthur, I think they've been good, and I see them again. With Wellington having to travel. Yeah, I see MacArthur winning this one.
Yes.
I think they've got enough firepower there.
Definitely.
Quick one on Ange Postecoglou. I wrote a column in The Guardian on Friday saying, "In Ange we trust, got to stick with him." I'm now trying to sell that column to anyone who wants it.
No, they got to stick with him. I know that it's not looking great in the Premier League, but
no one gets gubbed by Everton, Thomas. I mean, I agree with you. I really want them to.
And definitely not lose, like 3
Everton
goals.
haven't scored 3 goals in about 25 years. They did it in 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's not great. He definitely needs, for me, he needs to win that trophy. He needs to win that League Cup, and then you can maybe give him the Robert Green. But I want him to stick with him. Like, I want him, the Tottenham fans have obviously never seen that exciting football, but it's obviously not the results they want. But,
Yeah.
but
I mean, by all
you can go
accounts,
back to Mourinho and you go back to
Conte. Yeah, it was disastrous.
It was disastrous. And
But his his points per game record is worse than like any manager now in recent history. The glimpses that have been good have been great, and I want them to stick with him as well. Not just because I'm in Australia, but because those glimpses have made me see a football team. But he is under serious pressure now.
And you can see the press conference gets more and more cagey. That sort of, confidence he had and like cheeky comments. Now is sort of more. You can see he's sort of backtracking a bit. But we'll see what happens. Obviously,
more interesting content from the A-League. Vince Rugari and Tommy Orr, total A-Leagues. Do you think it's better than our program or not? I mean, where do we rate these other?
We're hard to beat, but
but they use some of our content now.
They are good.
They throw to us to inspire them.
Yes.
Because of they're going to take, that thing you said, that brilliant thing that you didn't want cut about Ames and how he sees players ahead. They're going to take that bit, put it into their show. So sadly, we can't cut it from this show because we would have cut it.
So do you think that they're doing that to lessen our show?
They go to our show and they say, here's the worst bit of our show.
And they're going to sabotage ours. Is ours going on socials or is ours recorded before theirs?
Yeah. Yeah, we're throwing ahead. It would be hard if they had done the show already, but they'd got content from our show that we hadn't done yet. Yeah. Unless the A-League is now becoming like Inception, which would be like not a terrible idea, would it? Just to keep people thinking you've got the crazy wind in Wellington and now we're doing things. In fact, the whole season has actually been played and we're not actually here. Thomas is AI. We don't know what Archie is. But look, we're just delivering things for you to consume, and that's the way the world goes until, in 30 or 40 years, we all die. But we've had a nice time doing it. Watch Total A-Leagues and have a lovely day. Thomas, thank you so much. Thank you, Archie.
Thanks, Maxie.
We will see you next week. Take care.